is all the above, best believe we do it better. I want the fame, the fortune, all the above. I want the checks, the moolah, all the above. From Philadelphia to New York, all the above. Man, tell them other stations they don't do it like us. I want the fame, the fortune, all the above. I want the checks, the moolah, all the above. From Philadelphia to New York, all the above. Man, tell them other stations they don't do it like us. What up?
What's up, guys? It's your girl Angel Marie, and I'm sitting here with my co-host Kevin. And this week we have a special segment for you guys called Things You Don't Know About Philly, where we are going to give you guys 25 fun facts that you may or may not know. But if you don't, just know that all of the above taught you first. Number 1. Philly is a city of firsts. On top of hosting America's first birthday, it also started up the country's first daily newspaper, the Philadelphia Packet and Daily Advertiser, in 1784.
Did you know that?
No, did you?
No.
See? Did you guys know that? I already know you don't, so it's okay.
Number 2 on the list of 25 things you didn't know about Philly, and I actually knew this one. Philadelphia opened America's first zoo, and obviously it's still open today, and we've lost a lot of the good animals, man. When I used to go when I was younger, we had elephants. That killed me.
I love elephants. That's like my favorite animal other than the white tiger.
Yeah, but it is America's first zoo, so right here in Philadelphia, like she said, a city of firsts.
I actually knew that too because, you know, when they do the tours when you're younger, you go on a field trips, that's like one of the first things they mention to all the kids. So I remembered that.
So maybe if you're from Philly, you do know, or if you visited the Philadelphia Zoo, since it says America's first zoo, maybe this is something you did know. But I'm sure there's plenty of things on this list that you don't.
Good. Number 3. Philly also opened the first hospital and medical school in America. Did you know that?
No idea.
I didn't know that either. I didn't even know that. I wonder actually what year that happened for it to be the first hospital. It's like, where were everybody going before that?
They probably, used to have like doctors making house calls to people.
Oh, that is true. Yeah, back in the day, you would see the people in like the little dresses and all that come to the house.
That does make sense though, because I think until like maybe the 1800s, Philadelphia I think was the biggest city in the country as far as population. So it would make sense that if the most people lived here, then you would have to have a hospital at some point. So
that is true. Fun fact.
Number 4 on the list of 25 things that you don't know about Philly, the Walnut Street Theater is the oldest continually running theater in the English-speaking world. So that doesn't even mean just the United States. That's pretty much, the western part of the Western Hemisphere. So I had no idea. You knew that?
Yes, fun
I figured
fact.
you did. You're in the performing arts. So.
Yeah, and my middle school, Meredith Elementary, is adopted by the Walnut Street Theater because, Meredith is like a performing arts school as well. And the Walnut Street Theater was partnered with Meredith where the actors would come and help mentor us. So I had a close connection with Walnut Street, and that's how I found out. And I want to give a shout out to TJ Saxo. He is a very good friend of mine. He was one of my mentors at Meredith. We're still very close today where we stay in contact. But shout out to you because he's still at Walnut Street Theater.
Wow.
Number 5. Philly became home of the first general purpose computer in 1946, and it weighed 27 tons.
That's like 27 tons that's heavier than a plane, isn't it?
I don't know.
That's a lot. That's 27
maybe that
tons
was in like
is
a warehouse or something. That maybe they had those computers
Wow.
for a different, like a factory purpose or something.
That's crazy. What year was it?
1946.
That's crazy. And now they say that these phones right here have more. I heard our phones have more computing power. The computers in our phones are stronger and more developed than the computers that they use to send the first astronauts to the moon.
Really?
Yeah.
Power of technology.
27 tons, that's crazy. Number 6 on our list, Philly boasts more impressionist paintings than any other city outside of Paris. Boasting over 3,800 outdoor murals, Philly's been called the mural capital of the US. I did know that, and about the murals. I didn't know about the impressionist paintings, and it does make sense because obviously the Philadelphia Museum of Art is one of the world-renowned art museums. I'm sure a lot of them are there, but we also have other museums. So
I didn't think about that. I know like when you're driving down the street and you see murals every which way, But I didn't think that we were the city that had the most. I just thought that that was normal in a lot of other cities as well.
Now, if you drive through other cities and you travel, like you see them on occasion, but it's just very common in Philadelphia. You don't see them nearly as much anywhere else. It's like a, rare thing.
Just be popping or whatever.
Yeah.
Number 7. In 1943, Phillies owner Robert Carpenter attempted to rename the team the Blue Jays. It was unofficially renamed from 1943 to 1949.
So they actually were called the Blue Jays?
Sort of, kind of. It was unofficial, so it was like the team named it the Blue Jays, but it wasn't official throughout like the states, I guess.
That's crazy. Well, there's obviously a team in Toronto, the Toronto Blue Jays, that have been there forever, so somebody else beat them to the punch.
Right, it would have worked.
Phillies just has a nice ring.
Yeah, it blends. It's on brand.
And we have probably the most popular mascot in all the sports, the Fanatic.
Oh yeah.
Keeping in with the sports theme, and I like how you mix that in. Number 8, I'll pose it as a question. Why are the Flyers named the Flyers?
I don't know.
Because Ed Snyder's wife, Ed Snyder is the owner of the team, thought the name sounded good. I had no idea that's why they were named the Flyers, and didn't even know what a flyer was, if it is a thing, but...
So it's named from someone's wife.
Hey, if you got enough money to own a team, and you want to make your wife happy.
Right? Now she is stamped in Philly history.
There you go.
But a lot of people may not have known that.
I never did.
Me neither. Now you do! Number 9. The Eagles are actually named for the eagle that appeared on posters during the National Recovery Act, which was part of FDR's New Deal. Before that, the city's home team was the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets.
I didn't know that.
It's an interesting fact. I feel like the Eagles just goes harder with that name.
I just always thought, because my stupid connection was just Philadelphia, birthplace of the country, and the eagle was like the national bird, so they just named them the Eagles, but...
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Another fun fact.
Makes sense. Number 10, continuing on with the Eagles. In 1988, the Eagles helped make the world's largest cheesesteak. It was the length of a football field. I didn't know that, and I wonder if anybody actually ate it.
If it's the length of a football field, I wonder if because sometimes they make it on the actual grounds when they're doing something. So I feel like people probably ate it. I feel like South Philadelphians go hard with the sports. So I feel like they're probably the majority of the group that went. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look up a picture on Google, see if I can see if they just literally stretched it across the field.
Yeah. Number 11. One of the first businesses in Philly was William Frampton's Brewery, which was opened in 1683. I feel like that makes a lot of sense, because especially around sports season, I feel like the beers and breweries are a very popular thing in Philly. But it's kind of interesting to know that it started here, though.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, I'd say Philly's a real popular place for breweries. Boston is too, but if you can think about it, people, even when we went through the pandemic, right? I'm gonna make a connection here. Went through the pandemic, and grocery stores and all that, of course, were essential businesses that stayed open. But initially, at least in Pennsylvania, the governor was like, no, liquor stores are gonna be shut down. But then he switched on that real quick. And it just goes to show, people want their drinks. People want their liquor. So that's one thing that's never gonna stop. We can be in the midst of turmoil in the world. People are gonna get their essentials, the food and shelter and all that stuff. But then right after that, people want their liquor, including their beer.
True facts.
Number 12, Philadelphia's City Hall was the tallest habitable building in the world from 1894 to 1908. That's crazy. I didn't know that. That was the
Out of all the tall buildings that we have now, especially like New York and LA has a whole bunch of tall buildings, so that's a good fun fact. I feel like we started a lot of trends around here.
And then of course, I think they had everybody knows this isn't the fact, but for years the rule was nobody could build a building taller than William Penn, so he was always looking down over the city.
Oh yeah.
And then they had the whole thing when once they started building the skyscrapers taller, and then from that point on, no Philadelphia team would win a championship, so they call it the curse of Billy Penn. But the Phillies broke that, the Eagles broke that, and we've got a beautiful downtown now. So I think it was the right decision.
Exactly. Number 13. Elfreth's Alley in the Old City is the oldest continually inhabited residential street in America, with homes dating back to 1702. Now, I actually did know that one. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Yes, it's actually like that is one of the main streets, especially where it still has the cobblestone, especially down on 5th Street between, what is that? Market, I think? Market Street? No, not Market Street. It's like Chestnut and Arch or something. Something like that. But that cobblestone area down there, like where the Independence and the Constitution Center is, saw like the main stuff. They didn't want to change the cobblestone because they wanted it to stay with old times, because that's like the historic area down there, where it's the Liberty Bell and the Constitution.
Number 14, Fairmount Park is the largest landscaped garden in the world at 9,200 acres. Fairmount Park is beautiful, I love it, but are we calling it a garden? Is it really landscaped? Because people are trimming it like...
Well, there's a lot of different areas of Fairmount Park. You know, it's like the botanical gardens, it's the greenery, the greenhouse. So it's different, but you're probably thinking about Lemon Hill area, Fairmount Park.
Okay.
Because you think about, there's a lot of different parts of Fairmount Park.
So they're not landscaping the whole thing. They're landscaping a certain section.
Yeah, because everything that's like if you're in North Philly
you.
and you're in Nicetown or Germantown, West Lane.
Got you. Okay, all right.
Number 15. This kind of goes back into what we just talked about. But Bartram's Garden is the oldest botanical garden in North America.
That's South Philly, Southwest Philly area?
I don't know, actually. I've never been to Bartram Garden.
I think it is down there.
I feel like I should go to Bartram Garden.
And you said it's the oldest
botanical garden in North America.
I'm gonna embarrass myself. I always hear the word botanical all the time. I don't even really know what a botanical garden is. What is the difference between a garden and a botanical garden?
You just put me on the spot.
I don't know. Oh, so you can come share my ignorance. Expose it to the audience.
When you was gonna say I was gonna let you rock by yourself, because I was not about to admit. I was gonna say I'm assuming a botanical garden is
real quick.
I'm assuming it's a bunch of greenery where it's like different flowers and plants.
Let's see. What's the definition?
Okay.
The definition of a botanical garden is an establishment where plants are grown for display to the public and often for scientific study.
That's what I just said. See?
That is not what you just said.
Context clues.
That is not what you just said, but we'll go with that. Number 16. At 37 feet in height, the William Penn statue on top of City Hall is the tallest statue atop a building in the world. And I saw that and was like, that can't be true, but I guess it is. 37 feet tall is tall. It doesn't seem tall, but if you're factoring that it's on top of a building, then it's crazy. And even more crazy is that, you know, City Hall was built, I think, in the late 1800s, and they did that. So even without all the technology we have now, it's pretty impressive. And it's still up there. So another record for Philly.
We're the champions. Not recently, but close enough.
Close enough.
Number 17. King of Prussia Mall in the Philly suburbs is the largest shopping mall in the United States. I can actually agree with that, because people often get lost in King of Prussia Mall all the time. I've only been to KOP once because I didn't like how big it was, because it's overwhelming. And I feel like you can't, you know, when people go to the mall, you're only at the mall for probably like 2 hours and you covered all the surfaces. At KOP, you have to be there all day or 2 days to even touch every single store, pass every store.
To me, it's so, because you know you have certain stores that you like to go to when you go to the mall that you know you're always going to check out. The King of Prussia Mall, and I've been there probably, you know, 15 times or whatever, but it's too big to be, we trashing King of Prussia Mall. It's a great mall. You can get anything you want out there, but it's so big that for somebody like me, it's too big to be convenient, because I want to go to one store, then I have to go all the way to the other side of the mall.
You have to get back in your car, go around in the parking lot to get to the other side.
Exactly. So it's just so large that it can be somewhat of an inconvenience. But I didn't know it was the largest mall in the world. I knew it had to be one of the biggest, but I thought, what's the mall that?
What's the biggest in the U.S.?
I thought the Mall of the Americas or whatever, something like that. It's a mall that had a roller coaster in it. It's like in Minnesota or something like that. I thought that was the biggest, but I don't know. They've always added to King of Prussia over the years too, so maybe it's the biggest now, but I'm not surprised at all. Number 18. William Penn created 5 public squares in his original plans for Philadelphia, and 4 are still squares. Rittenhouse Square, Franklin Square, Washington Square, and Logan Square. The fifth, Center Square, is now home to City Hall, but is also the location of Dilworth Park. I did not know that.
I didn't either.
That's
That's an interesting fun fact. The fact that they're still here today, because everyone still goes to Rittenhouse and Franklin Square. Because I think Franklin Square is like the home of where like all the holiday traditional festivities happen.
they have no this runs in Logan Square, Washington Square, on the other side, I think, of like Broad Street, like East Broad Street, and then Rittenhouse and Logan, I think, are on West Broad Street. But no, I didn't know that. And then of course City Hall being right on, what do you call it? Center Square?
Mm-hmm.
Who knew? Interesting.
Fun facts of the day.
We're learning.
Number 19. Philadelphia's Thanksgiving Day Parade was first held in 1920, making it 4 years older than the more famous Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade in New York City. We are the oldest, we are the first.
Is it really the oldest?
It is the oldest.
That was going to be my next question, though, because I know it's older than the New York one, but did that mean it's the oldest?
Philly is the very first city that threw a Thanksgiving Day parade.
Question for you.
Yes.
Do you think, because it's probably never been missed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it may happen?
It's going to happen. They already announced it's happening, but the audience can't be out there. So everything will still happen, but people have to watch on their TVs. Which is fine by me, because I never went anyway, because it's too cold outside, so I always watched on my television.
We've gone twice.
Wouldn't be able to go this year, but it's still happening. My only thing though, because you know, there's a lot of points in the parade where they have a whole chorus out there, or like at the grand finale or the intro, they have all the dancers out there for the ensemble. I wonder if they're limiting that now, where it's only a few people out there for everything, and not a whole crowd performing at the same time.
Are you a parade person?
I love parades. I don't like going to them,
But you like
I
watching
love
them?
watching them. I watch it every Thanksgiving morning.
Yes.
That's when I put up my Christmas tree.
No, your sister is a parade person. I'm gonna embarrass her now here, because our kids, for whatever reason, our two daughters, Kayla and Jacelyn, have just, from the time they were little, even up till now, they're not into parades. We've taken them both to the Thanksgiving Day Parade, and they're kind of indifferent to it, like, eh. But every Thanksgiving morning, my wife, your sister, wakes up and she's like, the Thanksgiving Day Parade's on! And she's trying to get the girls hyped up and whatever, and they're like, we don't care.
Aww.
And then she watches it or whatever, and she's like, oh, come so-and-so's. Or, you know, when they were younger, even they would have certain characters that they liked, and the floats would go by.
They still
and
didn't
they
care.
just did not care. And
Let
she's
me
so
guess.
disappointed. But then she does it every year, and I'm like, why do you keep doing this?
I have a
They don't
question.
care.
But she gets so excited when the Disney part comes out and Mickey's in his whole little.
Oh, anytime it's
outfit.
Mickey, she's flipping out. She's flipping out. So I'm telling you, your sister is hype on Thanksgiving morning for the parade.
I didn't know that.
I'm sorry, honey. I didn't mean to embarrass you, but.
Shout out to you. We ain't say your name, but they probably know who you are.
Number 20. In 1682, Philadelphia became the first city in the Americas to grant religious freedom, which, again, that would make sense because Philadelphia is the first for a lot of things. So it was the largest city in the country at the time. So you had a lot of people from different, parts of Europe, I guess, coming. And so it would make sense that this would be the place that they were going to have religious freedom, that it would start here. So another interesting fact. I'm learning today. You know me, I'm a history nerd too. So the fact that you're teaching me some stuff, props to you.
We're trying out here. Number 21. Quakers in the Germantown section of Philly were the first to protest against slavery and the colonies in 1688.
I did know that the Quakers and they were big proponents of, big supporters of the abolition movement, and I think a lot of the underground railroad locations that are in the Philadelphia area were places that were Quaker colonists and stuff like that. But I would argue probably the first people to protest against slavery in the colonies were the enslaved African Americans. So I just love when people they protest against it. Yeah, I'm sure that.
Well, I guess this was probably.
I knew what you meant though.
Yeah, this is going to against the first non-black people.
Gotcha, because I'm sure
obviously
people fighting for their freedom and trying to not be enslaved and stuff like that.
Yeah.
People usually are the ones fighting first and hardest against it. But
and if you
no, the Quakers were a really big part of
there
that.
There weren't slaves in Philly. It was all more southern.
No, There at that time, 1682.
You think there were slaves in Philly?
Yeah, they didn't have. It was like later on, I think, in the early 1800s, where the North, started having or not having slavery in the North.
Oh, okay.
So no, but they definitely there were slaves in the northern colonies. It wasn't until like the 1800s where it became a predominantly Southern institution.
Oh.
But
Learn something again.
yeah. Number 22, author Edgar Allan Poe lived in Philadelphia for 7 years and published 31 stories during his time in the city. I'd be interested to find out which stories, because what's the Edgar Allan Poe, what's it, most famous one, The Raven?
Yes. I know I had to read a couple of his books in high school. His home is still a museum here too, actually. I think it's near Betsy Ross' house,
Gotcha.
if I'm correct. I feel like all of those historic homes are still within blocks of each other.
Because he obviously, had some twisted, weird stories.
Like
so
dark books.
I wonder if he wrote those when he was here, and what does that say about this? Philadelphia? What did we do to him? But no, I didn't know that. I should have known that, but I have to check that out too.
Yeah, I think his books are still like in his museum as well, like in his house. So, well, not his original books, but you know what I mean.
Gotcha.
Like artifacts.
Okay.
Number 23. The Liberty Bell was crafted as the bell for Pennsylvania State House. It wasn't called the Liberty Bell until the 1800s.
That.
Did you know that, Mr. History?
No, I didn't, and I feel like that's fraudulent because they make you sound like the Liberty Bell was already called the Liberty Bell like on 1776 when they were ringing it, when the Declaration of Independence was signed, and it was like they changed it after the fact. So I guess, it is the Liberty Bell.
Maybe they wanted to make it more on brand.
Post-branded. Number 24. The oldest surviving photograph taken in the United States was taken of Philadelphia's Central High School in 1939 by Joseph Saxton. Did you know that?
I did not. And that's interesting because it's a very popular school still.
This must have been taken because I know the camera was invented like, you're a photographer. Do you know when it was invented? When they actually had the first, because this has got to be the very beginning of it, because it was probably like, the 1840s where they started perfecting it a little bit more.
Film and all that, when you put your head under like the fabric to take a photo.
And interestingly, you probably know this, but I didn't know that if you look at the first photographs from like the 1800s, the reason why they were always like stiff was because the exposure took so long, so I guess it would blur if the person moved, so everything had to be like portrait style. People had to sit still for like 2 minutes in order to capture it. You knew that though.
Yes.
So, alright.
Fun fact. Shout out to everybody who went to Central or go to Central. It wasn't me, so I don't care, but yeah. And last on our fun fact list of things that you don't know about Philly, number 25. Dick Clark's American Bandstand premiered on ABC from Philadelphia before moving to Los Angeles. It became a very important part of American pop culture. Did you know it started in Philly before?
I absolutely knew that.
I didn't know that. I actually didn't know that. I feel like I should know that because it's pop culture. No.
Really?
Didn't know that.
No.
Interesting. But yeah, started in Philly. So all that good stuff that came out of American Bandstand, Philly should get some credit for it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, we've got 3 bonus facts for you in addition to the 25 things you didn't know. This is one that I didn't know, but I'm not surprised because history is always glamorized. But apparently, both John Adams and Thomas Jefferson were out of the city on business when the Declaration of Independence was signed. The way they make it sign in the movies is like these men are in the room and then they sign a document, by the way, that says we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed with the inalienable rights by their creator, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. I tore that up.
Are you about to say the whole thing?
But then, no, just the fact that, again, writing those words, which are absolutely true, but the hypocrisy of it when many of them were slaveholders drives me nuts.
Yeah.
As it should everyone else. But anyway, they make it sound like it's this glamorous moment where they sign it. And like I said, the Liberty Bell's ringing and people are outside like that. It wasn't all like
Liberty Bell wasn't even a Liberty Bell. We just learned that.
But so, yeah, I guess they were out of town on business.
They probably phoned a friend and said, hey, go sign that for me.
They probably bounced because they knew, like, if I sign this document, that means I'm a traitor to the British government, and now I'm a treasonous traitor, and I'm probably gonna get executed, so let me get out of town. They probably ran. So anyway, interesting fact there, bonus.
So for our second bonus fact, we have tourists and locals can visit Betsy Ross' house, where people claim the first flag was sewn. But unfortunately, there is no evidence that she sewed the first flag. Did you know that?
Yeah, she probably didn't.
I didn't know that there was no evidence. I've always been taught throughout my whole childhood in school that she was the one who created the first American flag.
There's probably a black seamstress who sewed
Right?
the flag. And then they took it from her and she didn't get credit for it. And she's, you know,
Because there's no
hidden in
evidence.
history.
I didn't know that there was no evidence that she didn't sew it.
So I'm going with that story, that it was a black seamstress and they said thanks and she got no credit for it.
I'm gonna second that.
Wouldn't be the first time. And it won't be the last.
Nope.
And the third bonus fact on our list of things you didn't know about Philly is that CHOP, which is the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, was the first kids-only hospital. It continues to run today and is one of the most advanced children's hospitals in the country. And one of the things about Philadelphia, they say that we are a city of eds and meds, meaning that our educational institutions and our medical institutions are, you know, top of the line in the country, and that's the absolute truth. We'd hope anyone with a child never has to take their kid to CHOP, but kids who do go there, it is the premier hospital for children in a variety of conditions, whether it's, you know, traumatic injuries or, you know, diseases or anything like that. So this definitely is a good place, you know, for medical research, and we're at the forefront of that. So Philly is definitely, you know, while it doesn't get the love of like a New York or DC, I say this all the time, I've been to almost every major city in this country. I can't think of one that I haven't been to, and nobody has anything that Philly doesn't. So it's just another opportunity for us to show love to Philly, and hopefully the folks who live here appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, there you have it, guys. That is the end of our segment, Things You Don't Know About Philly. I definitely learned a lot of things through this segment. I hope you guys did. How about you?
No, I definitely did. It was a very good list. Some of the things I knew, I thought I would know a lot more than I did, but it's gonna make me do a little bit more digging and research, because you know me, I like to know my history, you know, facts and all that stuff, and the fact that a lot of this stuff I wasn't aware of makes me say I still have a lot to learn. So,
Is there anything that stuck out to you the most?
I just didn't realize, I knew Philadelphia was the first in a lot of things, being one of the oldest large cities in America. I just didn't realize how many firsts Philadelphia has. And I'm just gonna give one last bonus fact, because I remember I learned this watching Jeopardy years ago. Broad Street is the longest street in America. Did you know that?
Really?
It's 10 miles long, and it's the longest continually running street in America.
I did not know that.
So that's another.
There's been plenty of times that I've driven from one end of Broad all the way to the end of Cheltenham, so that's interesting.
It's 10 miles long.
I did not realize that's the longest street though. It feels like a regular drive to me when you're driving down Broad.
Yep, it's the longest street in America.
Well, there you go, kids. Another fun fact with all the above.
So anyway, but that's what I learned. A lot of the firsts that Philadelphia had, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, I don't know if there was anything that stuck out to me. Probably, let's see, can I skim through our list real
You
quick
can
to
skim.
see? I'm gonna cheat the system because we said a lot. Honestly, I would say it's probably the CHOP, between CHOP being the most advanced or the biggest hospital for children in the US, or the King of Prussia Mall being the largest in the US, because I didn't know those. You know, when it's something in your own city, you think that it's normal, like, oh, CHOP is a great hospital, or KOP is a huge mall. You don't think that it's the largest in the US, so I think those are probably the biggest fun facts that dawned on me, where I'm like, we're top tier.
There you go.
Yeah. But you know, if you guys like what you saw, definitely let us know by giving us a thumbs up. We would love to know that you guys liked what you saw. And as usual, if there's anything that we mentioned that you guys love, any questions that you have, a fun fact that may have, you know,
Slipped our list.
right, slipped our list, or anything that you thought was super interesting, or a fun fact that you want to add for us to read, definitely let us know in the comment section below. We would love to hear your thoughts. We always read and respond to all of the comments fairly quickly. And definitely, last but not least, make sure you push that subscribe button That is how you stay up to date with everything that is going on with all of the above. We hope you guys learned a lot today with our 25 fun facts of things you don't know about Philly, including our bonus facts. But as usual, it is our time to go. I'm your girl, Angel Marie, and I'm sitting here with my co-host, Kevin.
See you guys next time.
See you guys next time.
Wednesdays at 7, Angel Marie and Kevin playing the illest records, bringing us back together. Philly is all season, storming through any weather, leaving the track bleeding. Where we pull it together.